Thanks, Margaret. Good day, everyone. On behalf of Asian Markets, I welcome you all to the 4Q and full year FY15 earnings conference call of Cera Sanitaryware Limited. We have with us today Mr. Bharat Modi, Strategic Advisor representing the company. Thank you, Bharat Bhai, for providing us the opportunity. I now request you, sir, to take us through the quarterly and yearly result highlights, and then we shall begin the Q&A session, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kamesh Bhai. And before I really initiate, as a policy, I'll try to read the disclaimer first. Certain statements in this release concerning our future growth prospects are forward-looking statements within the meaning of the applicable security laws and the regulations. These statements involve a number of the risks and uncertainties beyond the control of the company that could cause actual results to differ materially from those appearing in such forward-looking statements. The risks and uncertainties relating to these statements include, but are not limited to, risk and uncertainties regarding the fluctuations in our earnings, our ability to manage growth, intense competition, including those factors which may affect our cost advantage, wage increase, our ability to attract and retain highly skilled professionals, political instability, managerial limitations and legal restrictions of acquiring companies outside India, and unauthorized use of our intellectual property and general economic conditions affecting our industry. Cera Sanitaryware Limited may from time to time make additional written and or oral forward-looking statements, including our reports to shareholders. The company does not undertake to update any forward-looking statement that may be made from time to time by or on behalf of the company as a sequel to or in continuation of these statements. The company also expects the media to have access to all the parts of this release and the management commentaries and the opinions thereon, based on which the media may wish to make a comment and or report on the same. Such comments and or reporting may be made only after taking due clearance from the approval of the company's authorized personnel. The company does not take any responsibility for any interpretations, views, commentaries, reports, which may be published or expressed by any media agency without the prior authorization of the company's authorized personnel. On behalf of Cera, I'm Strategic Advisor Bharat Modi, and I'll just give you the brief synopsis about, we have been growing, but that growth is a continuous process. We always try to reinforce this with our endeavors. The top-line growth for the FY15 has reached to 23.80%. The bottom-line growth has gone to 30.36%. Our EPS has gone to 53.36%. And the dividend also has gone to 125%, which we raised from 100% last year. I would straight away go to any the question answer sessions from the participants because most of the results have been published and a lot of people must have studied who have been intensely tracking Cera. So I would invite the questions straight away.
Thank you very much. We will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Avnish Roy from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Sir, my first question is on the...
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Roy. Please use the handset mode while asking your question.
So my first question is on the gross margin. You had explained this in your interviews, but if you could clarify in greater detail, why quarter on quarter also there is a sharp dip? And based on your comments in the interview, is it that in the coming quarter, the gross margins will see recovery based on sales recovery?
Well, first of all, let me understand what exactly you have in terms of a gross margin, because, we have a yearly margin which is almost maintained throughout the quarter, which is about 15% plus. And on a quarter-to-quarter basis, because I had a mail from you also, you are expressing your anxiety about we going down by 2.97% down on a margin, which probably I would not accept it, because factually I need to really corroborate those kind of things, and I would invite you where exactly you get these figures from, because I still maintain that, okay, we have, the figures which are 15.06% yearly, and on a quarterly basis also we are more or less the same kind of a thing.
Sir, my question was more on the gross margin front. If you see, if I add all your raw material cost, it's down both quarter-on-quarter and YOY.
I mean, gross margin, you would take what kind of a figures? Because I generally would focus on an EBITDA margin, and you want to add about what kind of other things. Because my EBITDA margin, if I take, is for the whole of the year is about 124 crore per 11. Is that what you are referring to it, or you are referring any other figure?
No, if you could start with the gross margin for the quarter. So if you see, if you add all the raw material cost, etc., then the total raw material cost comes to around 126 crores. And that's why if you see the gross margin is seeing a sharp dip both quarter-on-quarter and YOY. So EBITDA margin is a update.
Yes, I could sense your questions on this part, and I'll try to really answer in this way that okay, the quarter-to-quarter, what kind of a product that we have and which has been pushed in terms of achieving the targets. Now, there are the product mix which has a varying or a different kind of a margins. Sanitary ware is one that we are talking about. We have another product which is a faucetware. There is a different margin on these, and we have a different margin on the tiles as well. Now, if you really say that, okay, look, yes, if any of the quarter, the tiles are the lowest of the margin, then we have a better margin which is in a faucetware, and the highest margin is on a sanitary ware. So if in any of the quarter, if you are referring, the product mix is led by, or probably a growth is more there intensely, by a product category which has a comparatively a lower margin, then obviously, that particular quarter would always be on that kind of a thing.
So that's useful, but could you explain seasonality in your product sales in greater detail? So you have explained the margin profile, but if you could tell us Q1 to Q4 how the movement happens. Generally, I'm not asking for a guidance, but generally, will the shift be so much on a quarter-on-quarter basis in this kind of product?
It all depends upon, because, many times, there are certain kind of the quarterlet where a certain kind of a demand for the product category is more. Now, if you really see, if I'll give you an overview of the things, there are generally the product categories that we have, as I said, there are 4 categories. Category starts with basically a sanitary ware, then we have a faucetware, then we have a tiles, and there's the wellness product. First of all, I'll try to give you an overall picture about it, then I'll go to the quarter-to-quarter basis. The overall picture is, we have something close to about pure sanitary ware, which is coming about 51% of the total turnover that we are talking. We have certain allied products, which are completely outsourced, which comprises of PVC cisterns, seat covers, some of the fittings which essentially go with the sanitary ware. Now, this goes to about 15%. And then the category 3, second, we have a faucetware. We have a faucetware which is about 19%. And we have a tiles which is contributing about 15%. And the balance 3% comes from a wellness product. Now, as I had said, on a tiles and a faucetware, comparatively the margins are lower margins, but it's a volume gain. Both of them, both the categories are volume. And therefore, if any of the quarter where the provenance of these 2 products, faucetware and tiles, is more than the sanitary ware, the overall margin will always be in a line where it's slightly coming, in terms of a comparison of a pure sanitary ware, it will be a lower margin. Now, this exactly is the scenario.
Sir, that's useful. My last question is on the sales front. This quarter, obviously, the slowdown was much more pronounced versus the full year.
Right, yes, I would accept it. There's a slowdown, yes.
Sir, that's the question, sir. The CMD in the interview is saying that there will be a recovery, but is that recovery based on the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan of the government? So where exactly the slowdown happened and why it happened?
Yes, I would answer. There are 2 ways you could look at it. One is, there are the general market conditions which is subdued at the moment. Subdued in terms of the entire construction industry is slightly subdued about it. And all said and done, the material that we manufacture go into the construction as a part of the industry itself. We have been still trying very hard, in some of the pockets where the slowdown has comparatively a smaller effect. These effects we have experienced more of a slowdown in the metros, like let's say Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta, Chennai. But if you really go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, the slowdown has not that high in terms of the impact because they're more of an actual users rather than the investors coming and trying to, get into a construction business. So we have been trying to really, float above the water in terms of our penetrations into the interiors of the states, leaving aside the metros. This is one where, but despite this, the toll of the slowing down has also really been raised out to this kind of a thing, though not in the same intense proportion in which it is experienced in the metros, but even in tier 2, tier 3 cities also there is a slowdown. Swachh Bharat is one where, there are a lot of hopes about because the government has really, trying to allocate a lot of funds from the government and trying to induce even a lot of other corporates in the CSR responsibilities where Swachh Bharat is what is going to be one thing which, when it opens up, is going to really open up a tremendous vistas for an expansion as well as a growth. Yes, you are very right that still has not reached to us, but it's something which we really hope that, where we might really catch up after a while. So I would try to really say, this entire year 2015 is a year of a consolidation, right, starting from quarter 4, where we would like to build capacities, we would like to stabilize our production processes, and we should be ready where the demand really opens up, We are ready with the production capabilities as well as the capacities to really meet with challenging market situations. So this is what is a stage of a consolidation. And as CMD very rightly has said that the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is something which is, the fact has started coming to the unorganized sector, where the capacities are almost getting full up, and therefore that effect, when it takes and catches up, is also going to reach out to the organized players where we are there.
Just one follow-up, quite useful, sir. How much is the urban and rural split and metro demand you said has slowed down? So is it in negative terms in terms of volumes, and when do you expect urban recovery?
I would not say it's a negative in terms of the growth, but yes, we used to grow in terms of the volume by about 10 to 15%, anything between that in sanitary ware if I'm talking about. That slowdown has come to at least about 7%, 6%.
And what will be the split?
We are almost about 60 to 65% in the semi-urban and, the lower category where the mass market is there. If I give you a split about, almost about, let's say, 40% is coming from a mass market that we are into it, our total business. We have about upper and upper lower categories of a business which are about 20 to 20% each contributing. And about 15% goes to a premium segment. So when you really talk about a premium segment, yes, there is a slowdown. But when you talk about upper lower category, the slowdown is there, but then it's not a negative growth. It's still a positive, fairly positive on that part. Even upper also is positive, but then the growth used to be about more than 12 to 15% in terms of the volume. If I really talk about the price side that we used to take and the volume growth, both if I take the growth used to be about 30%, 35%. Now, that slowdown has definitely taken, which we have also experienced. But let me tell you, leave aside the quarter, to our own surprise, April, this particular month, we again have bounced back to about 25% growth.
Okay, so
we thought that, the 15% growth for the entire quarter. In fact, January and February, in the history of Cera, I can go back to the last 20 years. Those 2 months, we have never seen such a low thing.
But April has been good.
March did pick up a little bit, and April again, has shown a very good sign where our growth, if I compare with last April 2014, we are almost reaching to 24-25%. No, but if I talk about January and February, those growths were almost 0. There was just no growth on that part.
Sir, but are you able to call out why there will be so much variability in 3 months? What has changed on ground?
You see, there are on ground our own efforts, our own marketing strategies have changed. There were days where, the orders were flowing and probably, a lot of our salespeople were also getting a little confidence and think order and then where you are trying to give them a thing. Now we have to go and make efforts. We have to go to the market. So we have intensified, our sales team has been strengthened and now we go back to the people, we really try to follow up and then we generate sales. And these has really also paid up in terms of our aggressive marketing and sales efforts.
So, but the discounts have increased?
No, not at all, not at all.
Oh.
If the discount would have increased, probably the entire margin would have been upset.
No, sir, April. You said April has been good. So
no, April, despite this, there are no discounts, yes. It is only the policy which we generally follow that has been followed.
Oh.
Discount is something, we have taken as a policy, it can only, probably sometimes where you carry some excess inventory in one of the product category, in one of the designs, one. In some of the territories where we are trying to get an entry, we want to really get, let's say some of the territories are where our presence is very low. Some of the Far East states, some of the Eastern states. Just for an entry, a lot of people know Cera as a brand, but when you really enter, you really want to enter with a modest supplier, and therefore many times these, with a category of a product which we sometimes have an inventory, we also would like to get rid of those kind of an inventory. We might offer, but as a rule, discount is not that is general incentives to the dealers, and is the same which is uniform.
Sir, quite useful and very detailed answers. Thanks a lot, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, we would request you to please limit your question to 2 per participant. If time permits, you may come back for a follow-up question. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gunjan Prithyani from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thanks for taking my questions. Just to follow on the revenue, I just wanted to clarify, you said the volume growth is about 7-8% in this quarter. Is that correct?
This particular quarter, if you really say, the volume growth in terms of sanitary ware is about 5 to 7%. It all is across the category. There is a category where, if I talk a premium segment, then the growth is 2%. But if I really talk about a lower category or a upper and upper lower category, then the growth is slightly higher. So if I average it out, it's about anything would come out 5 to 7%.
Okay. And how much would it be for mass market in 5% or so?
Well, that is slightly a larger growth in terms of a volume.
Okay. And this, if I look at the previous quarters, sanitary ware overall average would have been more than about 15%.
Well, yes, because we predominantly are a sanitary ware manufacturer. So, therefore, those kind of a growth are always in excess of about 10%. Okay.
And, sir, the slowdown in this quarter, you did mention it's the market weakness, but is it across segments that you've seen, especially for the faucet and the tiles, wherein...
In fact, across the segment, but then, in fact, our faucet and tiles has... been one where, we have grown phenomenally higher than compared to the sanitary ware.
Sir, would you be able to share the growth trends across these segments for the quarter?
Sorry?
Would you be able to share the growth trends across these segments?
We do not give a product-to-product category. We do not, as a policy, we do not share that information.
Okay, but broadly, tiles and faucets, how would have they performed versus the, against the sanitary ware?
The reason being, again, tiles and the faucets are on a lower base, and therefore, if I'm, let's say, targeting about 50 crore or 70 crore business, which we did last time in a tiles, to double that business is very easy for me, because, Cera is such a strong brand. And when I reach out to any of the new territories, those kind of things will straightway take me to about 100% growth on a year-to-year basis. That's very easy. But when I already have penetrations, I'm known for a sanitary ware, to get that kind of a growth across is very difficult. So, you talk about a category of a product, and therefore our focus also in terms of maintaining a growth also has been more on the faucet as well as on the tiles. And there the response has been phenomenally high. Phenomenally high.
Sure. And, sir, in the light of the slowdown that you've seen in the market, how are we looking at next year in terms of growth? Is there any change to the guidance that we've been talking about?
We hope. Our chairman already made a statement, and we are really geared up that at least we would be maintaining a growth board. We have registered about 24-25%. Yes, we are committed to that kind of a growth. And if I say the very first April, the beginning of the year, is really giving us a lot of confidence.
Okay, so you've seen growth trends improving in April.
April has grown almost about 24%, 23% compared to the April 2014.
Okay. And sir, coming to your margins, there has been, of course, the margins have been coming down because of the mix change, but is there any target mix that we have in mind that we want to maintain 65% from sanitary and the allied products, or is there any mix that we are internally targeting?
We do have a target for the year. We do have a target where the overall margin will be at least about 15%, whatever the composition may come.
Sorry, the overall?
Overall margin will not be less than 15%. EBITDA margin, I'm saying.
Will not be less than 15%.
That's right, yes. Our endeavor would be even to exceed these expectations of 15%, but at least, conservatively, we would try to maintain 15% any day.
The mix should not change significantly from here on. Because
even if the mix changes, we really would try to do it in such a way where even if the product category which is contributing an EBITDA margin which is reasonably, but then we'll try to cover it up in terms of our cost advantage, because they've been working very hard on both the product category where how do we reduce our cost.
Okay. And sir, lastly, on your capex plans, what are we looking at for F16 and 17?
We have a rolling plan, for the next 3 years, which is about 180 crores to 200 crores, about 880 crores. That's the way I would put it.
180 crore for the next 2 years.
Next 3 years. So on average, you could always about 60-65 crores, but then some years it might exceed. The current if I say we exceeded that particular target, we almost made a capex about 82 crores. Now, which probably would, say, look, this year we might probably go to about 60 or 55 crores, or it may probably as the year goes down the line. Depending upon what the market is figuring out, we would always try to say, look, the capex is adding a capacity, number one. If the capex is taking us to a new orbit in terms of our the sales targets, it has to really generate revenue eventually. So we have planned where we would be, our rolling plan is about 180 crores, and generally we'll try to fund it to internal accruals. Unless we try to acquire a business somewhere which would call for something where we need extra money, which probably would be funded. We very recently had a preferential issue to FII, and that was only at the fag end of the March which we had the money. And that money we are trying to see it where we are able to target somewhere where in terms of the business acquisition is helping us.
Okay, and of this 180, we've already incurred about 80-85 crores in F15, right? Of the rolling plan.
It's a rolling plan. So, it was a rolling plan was, let's say about 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15. Now, you're talking about 13, 14, 14, 15, and 15, 16.
Okay.
So that's the way that it would it's very difficult to really pinpoint an industry like the yes, okay, that's the way I'm going to do in a bottle-tight compartment. Are you doing a capex? No. So that's what we have a rolling plan which is for 3 years.
Okay, and in terms of our ongoing capex, we only have that sanitary ware going up to 3.2 and the faucet expansion.
Capacity for faucet ware to almost about 3.5 times. We have a capacity of 2,500 pieces, which we would be raising. We almost are through with that, barring some of those balancing equipment in terms of that we need to really put it to use and we need to put it to a commissioning stage. So maybe before the end of the quarter one, we would be ready with the capacity, which will be at least about 7,000 pieces per day on faucet ware, as against 2,500 pieces.
Okay, by end of 1Q F16.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
Or probably even before that. We have been trying too hard to really put it to use as fast as possible.
Okay, all right, very useful. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please limit your question to 2 per participant. The next question is from the line of Sayan Sharma from CRISIL Limited. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Thanks for taking my question. So most of my questions have already been answered. Just a couple more. Sir, is it possible for you to share the breakup of what we produced in-house and outsource in this quarter?
Yeah, I can try to give you that part. We have almost... if I take, the faucetware, our own manufacturing is about 9%, outsourcing is about 10%, making about 19% total.
Okay.
Tiles is 15%, which is completely outsourced.
Yes.
And on sanitary ware, we have about 28% is in-house and 34% is outsourced.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, what is the
34% includes 14%. Sorry, I would say 20% is outsourced and 28% is manufactured in-house.
Okay, sir. Okay. So, what is the status of the solar panel installation that we were planning by the end of this year? Is it done?
500 kVA is already installed. Another would get installed very soon now.
Okay.
So we'll make it 1 megawatt solar panel.
Okay. Okay, sir. I think my other questions have been answered. I'll go back to the queue.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Enid Fernandez from Tata Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for taking my questions. Firstly, if you look at the balance sheet for FY15, there's been a certain increase in the receivable days as of end of March 2015. So just wanted to understand, are we facing any, is the entire channel got under a bit of stress in terms of receivables for us?
You see, what happens here, the last quarter, if I say, we had a subdued quarter. The very quarter was subdued. January and February were, in particular, quite subdued. In fact, the March really picked up. And when you really bill in the March, what would happen, that sizable portion of that quarter was billed in the month of March.
Okay.
Now, generally, we give a 45 days credit. So what happens is that, when you really take a balance sheet on a particular date of 31st of March, so a lot of billing which was done in the month of March would really figure as an outstanding.
Okay. Understood. And
but I could assure you that, the average date that we generally, the datas are not more than 52 days.
Okay. And, sir, just... you mentioned that, January and February was flat and probably, the slowest months in Cera's history.
That's right.
Is there, any possible understanding that you have as to why January and February were, so weak for us?
The market dynamics really, probably, we also thought that, okay, this is something which is very phenomenally subdued. They just have not been picked up on any kind of a thing. Maybe some of the projects which were already there, they're not able to sell out their own inventories, and the new projects are also subdued. So we had to change our complete marketing strategies, and we realized by January and middle of the February, and we started intensifying how best we could really, gather a strength to combat this kind of a situation. And the result was apparently of those efforts were coming and visible in March, and it continues even in April also.
So is it that we are focusing now on, non-project kind of...
It's more on a retail customer that we started focusing, and also, some of those projects which are in a full swing and the builders are more solid, Earlier, what used to be that okay, there was only a dealer or a distributor used to approach, and they used to do it. Now what happens that even the company representative also really accompanies and really builds the confidence, inspires the confidence on deliveries, on qualities.
We didn't have that in place before.
We had that kind of a thing, but it was a call of a distributor or a dealer. That, okay, they need us. And now, we said, no, whatever the way, we are going to be with you.
Okay.
And, that proactive actions from our side has really inspired dealers to put more efforts.
Okay.
And it has been a slightly push kind of a thing, but then, yes, it's producing results in terms of our, the targets as well as the top-line growth.
Okay. Sir, could you give, a revenue breakup between, say, retail and institutional for FY15?
It's generally is about 50-50. Some other quarters is maybe about 55 and 45 kind of a thing. But it hardly matters to us whether it is institutional or retail. The reason being, our collections are always routed to the dealer and the distributors.
Exactly.
And it is the dealer or the distributor, he has to take a call what kind of a credit that he would like to offer to a project or a builder on that part. Our recoveries only come from the distributed dealers.
Okay.
We generally do not bill to the builder directly unless the very, very high, like DFL or maybe a Shova builder who insists, but then dealer is always kept into the loop and he also gets his incentives. But we always, when we quote, we always try to take, that's an incentive, how much you would like to pass on. The dealer takes a call on that part. Our margins remain unaffected.
Okay. And sir, with respect to, gas prices, can you, probably give us an understanding as to when we'll start seeing the benefit of it coming?
We already started getting a 10% benefit on the reduction of the price from April.
From April, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So there is a 10% visible difference that we have been now getting on a gas price.
Okay. You expect this to be at these levels itself going ahead? 10%?
Sorry?
You expect this to be at these levels itself going ahead? 10%?
Well, it should remain that kind of a thing because crude internationally also has been subdued and the forward-looking whatever that you might get into is not going to pick up about whatever now is more than. It may float around about $50 or $60, which we had seen earlier about crossing $100. So that advantage does have, and that advantage was much awaited to be passed on to the industry in terms of who using the natural gas, and now we are.
Okay. And so, any, big positives that you saw probably in FY15 for the business in terms of, say, maybe particular markets where we've done, very good progress or,
If I really give the growth, across, we have grown in the southern part by about 51%. I'm talking purely the growth, the breakup of whatever the 24% growth that I'm saying. The growth of 51% has come from the 4 states of the south.
Okay.
Almost about 21% has come from the western part, which includes Gujarat, Maharashtra, and part of the Rajasthan.
Okay.
And the north also has given us a growth about 23%. When I'm talking of states, let's say UP or Delhi, Haryana, and part of that kind of a thing.
Okay.
And the eastern states where we have a marginal presence, we've been trying to increase that presence, has given us a growth of about only 5%.
5%, okay.
And these growth probably will have to really focus more in terms of, South has always been one which really appreciates our product quality, and what we are now has been growing continuously on those 4 states, Kerala being one of the main.
Yes, sir.
The virgin states, I would put it like that, are Odisha, Bihar, and the West Bengal. We are trying to intensify further our efforts.
Okay.
We had a capacity constraints so far, and therefore we are raising capacities now.
Okay.
And once those capacities are put to use, are further intensifying focus on those areas where we are, they know Cera, what exactly Cera is, but then we have not been able to continue to supply, so these would really come to our help, and one of the positive side, I would say.
Okay. And what is our revenue contribution now? Again, region-wise, if you could share.
Still, almost about 42% coming from the southern states that we have. 4 states are contributing 42%. We have about 25% each coming from western and the northern.
Okay.
Central state contributes close to about 3 to 5%, and the balance is from western and the northeastern. East and the northeast states.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ankit Jain from Aquarium. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, if you can help me out, what could be the sanitary ware industry growth rate?
Please speak on the handset mode.
Yeah, is it better? Hello?
Thank you.
Yeah, but sir, if you can help me out.
There's a lot of echo on that part. I think you're still on a speaker. You need to pick up a handset and put a question to me.
Sir, I am on handset only.
Are you? Oh, then, anyway, no issue. Go ahead.
So, sir, what could be the sanitary ware industry growth rate for fiscal year 15?
The sanitary ware growth rate is about, in terms of the volume, is about 5 to 6%. And in terms of the value, it is about, if I put together, if I say is about 15%.
Okay. And for us, it is again being the case for market share gain during fiscal year 15?
Well, if you really say market share, yes, we have been continuously gaining market share because, about 5 years down the line, we were only 18%. Now we have crossed 21%, 22%, and we hope to continue that kind of a speed. This year's figures in terms of what is our market share would be out only at the end of the quarter because, there are a lot of other results are still awaited and our association is still working on that.
Okay. So, sir, what is exactly the strategy which we are following, in case of faucets and tiles, from positioning point of view, because though I do understand that base is still pretty low, that's why growth is looking significantly high. But, sir, what kind of a strategy exactly we are following out there?
You see, there are two ways I would answer. One is, faucet is one, where faucet is something where I'll very candidly admit that 127 is Jaguar. Anybody in this industry who is into a faucet where be it any other competition, I don't want to name them, but everybody comes after Jaguar's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have seen that, okay, yes, there is a inherent, a desire from a customer, distributor, and a dealer's perspective that okay, there has to be a competition to a Jaguar, and therefore if you come out with a good quality product, you could always compete Jaguar. That was one. And question here is what about a product positioning walls that you raised is very vital even from our perspective also. Some of the product range where to really fight Jaguar on a price is very, very difficult because unless you start making losses, you can't really fight on that part. We have changed our strategies whereby, we are trying to take on Jaguar on a slightly higher, middle and higher range where we are coming out with a new product, which is aesthetically far more superior in terms of it looks, not only that, but in technologically in terms of the maneuverability also, and the sleekness of the product also, where the price becomes pretty secondary to that part. So we are trying to slightly premiumize a faucet and we try to really take a look, yes, when you buy a faucet, which, one single piece sometimes may cost about 1,500, 2,000 rupees a piece kind of a thing when you talk about, a quarter ton or a half a ton and that kind of a thing. Now here what happens, anybody who is ready to pay 5%, marginally would give around 1,500, it would be about 75 rupees. A person who is spending about 1,500, he doesn't have to really bother for spending 1,600 if he gets a good product. So that's what our studies indicate, and that's why we are trying to gain more market. That's the way, we have really penetrated all through. So faucetware is one. We feel that, okay, that strategy is going to take us for far more ahead. We are coming out with few more other product categories as well as few more designs. It's a continuous thing. On a tiles, we are, until now, we are only into a soluble salt. And this is basically a mass market, which is where the margins are also comparatively low market. We are now focusing on, GVT kind of a product and also a double charge nano. And we already have tied up in terms of the supplies for these products where the margins are slightly higher margins. And the volume are also good. So these are the two strategies where, we are trying to get into that. And not that we'll be discontinuing soluble salt. It would still continue to be at least 50% of our the tiles business. But then, we are trying to increase further addition of it to another 50% with GVT as well as with double charge.
Right. Got it. So lastly, on the distribution network side, sir, what is the number as on fiscal year 15 in terms of distributors and retailers?
It's a continuous process. We are almost taking about 1,500, 15,000 dealer distributors. This is a continuous process. And as we open up the new territories, we need the distributors and the dealers.
Okay. And so lastly, on this commissioning timeline, in case of brownfield expansion and sanitary as well as faucet. So, sir, what could be the commissioning timeline for
we are almost through with more or less, there are trial runs will be on now, or probably is already done in the March itself on the sanitary ware. We are saying that. And On a faucetware also, most of the equipments have been aligned. Only one major thing was electroplating, which we had. We already had one, and we have added one under more sophisticated plant there, which is being now done. And before the end of next month, I would say, will be becoming operational, or maybe even earlier than that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Apurva Kumar from Jefferies. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, can you just talk about what kind of impact do you think GST will have on this industry?
Well, GST is a very welcome thing, as a matter of fact. There are one of the major contributory to the entire business is unorganized sector. Still, the business is almost about 50-52% coming from unorganized sector. And when you talk about unorganized sector in India, we have a variety of maneuverability which they themselves know far more better. And with the coming of a GST, it would be very difficult for such kind of a people to have those practices which are unhealthy for the trade and the business, which would mean that the competitive advantage in terms of price vis-a-vis the low quality that they were able to offer would be, over a period of time, will get nullified. And therefore, GST is a very welcome feature. The question is how well it is executed. Even earlier, the VAT also was being talked about, and the benefit will eventually go to the people who are end user in terms of getting the credits and pass on the benefit. These as in terms of an execution, when there are a lot of people, they keep the credit with themselves and do not pass on to the end user. So how the GST will really impact a lot would depend upon how it is executed.
Okay. Sir, in terms of pricing, what kind of benefits do you think you will get from GST coming in?
Well, we still are working on that part because, when you really get the price advantage and again, what kind of a price that you need to pass on to a customer, because that all the competition or a trade or an association level, everybody would it's a matter of a settlement.
Right.
When you really try to get into a new kind of a system, it takes a little time by the time you realize what is it that you are able to retain with you, what is it that you'll have to pass on, and a lot of market dynamics would come into the force. Okay. It's too premature as of now to really estimate about this.
So just one data point. What would be the total size of the industry in terms of volumes, the sanitary ware industry?
Well, if you really see, the volume is very unaccounted because, there are chota bada leke, there are about more than 500 units manufacturing in an organized sector in only one town called Morbi. And their capacities are never known what their capacity would be. So if I really take out a volume game, it's going to be very, very difficult about it. That would be a figure today. It could be right, tomorrow it could be wrong. But organized player, if you really talk about, there are three major organized players. I talk about a Pariware, Ruka is one, then HSIL, and the Cera.
Okay.
Now, according to our information, Pariware is about, 4.5 million capacity that they have. HSL also is more or less trying to match that kind of a capacities, and we are about 3 million capacities. Then there are some other players who claim to be in the organized sector, but with a very marginal presence, like Euro is there, but more or less they are lost now as of now in terms of the debt trap. They're not, and how much they manufacture, but they generally manufacture for somebody. When we get it manufactured from them also, so we also outsource to them. Euro is more or less now getting out of the race. Then there are some other small players like Liberties, which you generally don't see anywhere. It's happening somewhere, whether they're operating or not. But then, yes, that's the way it is. But then other major players, which are the global brands like, Duravit, Kohler, and you also have Ruka. These are the three major brands who have a plant in India. Ruka, more or less, is in the Pariware plant. Kohler is a major player. Duravit is comparatively a smaller player.
Right. So, and maybe in terms of value, how big would be the industry, sir?
In terms of the value, the figure that we generally come across is about 2,700, 2,800 crores plus 10% plus minus on those kind of things. It's about 3,000 crore plus business in terms of the value. It's a small industry.
Okay, so thanks a lot.
Any more question, Mr. Kumar?
No, I'm done.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashant Kutti from MK Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call, sir. So firstly, just wanted to know, you just said that January and February were the weakest months in terms of growth for the sanitary ware business. Is this a similar case for the other building product segments as well? So let's say, for example, tiles in the sense?
Well, if we really see our business, which comprises of faucet as well as tiles, the impact was the same. And whether it was a faucet or it was a tiles, the overall leave aside the sanitary ware, the growth or in terms of the business itself was very subdued.
Okay, so even faucets and tiles have also been a weakish.
Yeah, they were subdued. They're quite subdued about it. And they were reeling.
And sir, typically, what would have been the growth rate of the tiles market, the organized growth rate? I mean, I understand you have a very small base, but if I could probably know what is the organized market growth rate?
Well, organized market growth goes to at least about 7-8%.
Okay.
That market is too large a business.
This is 7-8%?
Just a drop in the ocean, is more than about 25,000 crore plus business.
Right. So that this 7-8% is the value growth?
Sorry?
The 7-8% is the value growth you're talking about?
It's a value growth, yes.
It's a value growth. And this was, let's say this would have been till the last 3 quarters, would this number would have been same or it has actually seen a drop or it's a similar level itself?
No, in fact it is the same. Though January, February were subdued, but we really had picked up in March.
Okay.
So March, if we stand alone, if I really see, that kind of a growth is really kind of a growth which gives us a lot of encouragement as well as inspires more confidence in us. And April also is the same line.
Okay. And secondly, sir, just to ask you on the margin front, we're looking about a 15% kind of a margin. I understand we spoke about moving towards premium products and things like that. But if you probably look at it, you're looking at gradually going to look at share of faucets and tiles rising over here, which is relatively lower margin as compared to sanitary ware business. So if I assume that the mix remains the same in the next year, what are the margin levers that we look at as far as...
Therefore, I already explained that part in earlier questions. Faucet where we are trying to, come out with new designs where we don't have to compete on a price front with Jaguar. Which would mean that, our margins on a faucet ware also would be reasonably good, number one. On a tiles front, soluble salt is one which is with a very low margin. But then we are trying to add on, in our product category, the GVT, and we are also trying over a double charge nano product which has comparatively far more better, premium products and far more better margins.
Apart from that, sir, on the cost, you also spoke about cost levers. If you could just cite us, what would be those cost levers that we're looking at which would help us in margin improvement? You see, basically, energy cost is one. The gas cost has already come down by about 10%. The power cost, which we are going to be almost 100% self-reliant. We are already having about 11.85 megawatt self-generations through wind power. We also had put up 1 megawatt, 500 kVA was already installed on a solar panel, and another 500 kVA we are just installing. So that also would be adding and toward the savings of the cost. In the current year also, we have at least about 4 windmills generating about 2 megawatt kind of a power which are very old, and the generations have also gone pretty weak in terms of the maintenance as well. So we are trying to replace that with another 2 sizably big windmill which will generate at least about 4 megawatt. So this power cost, energy cost, we are trying to control that part. Another rising cost which has always been, in terms of the labor price, and we are trying to premiumize our product, and therefore per product the labor price also would be minimized. So that's the way we are trying to control our cost advantage, where we remain above the float. Okay. Great, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of G. Vivek from GS Investment. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, thanks for taking my call. Hello?
Yeah, tell me, I'm here.
Yeah, please. Just wanted to know about the ground level situation of all the initiatives by our Prime Minister Modi ji of Swachhata Abhiyan, and has it resulted in any opportunity size increasing for us? And also about the CSR initiatives of lot many corporates. So is it impacting us positively in any manner?
Honestly, as of now, not. The reason being, the ground level realities are still percolating down below. And initially, when you talk about the Swachh Bharat, they are of a very low category business, which would generally go to the unorganized sectors. And therefore, what would happen that, we are not into that kind of a product category where we'll have a direct benefit. But as an industry where, a part of the capacities, which is generally fed by unorganized sector, gets exhausted, the remainers, will have to go back to the organized players, which they either two were trying to scout from the unorganized sector. So that particular thing would start gaining a momentum maybe down the line 6 months or maybe about down the line year. And when this really goes in a full-fledged way, the way the Prime Minister has been dreaming about it, which is not only a dream, but it's a need of an hour. And therefore, when it picks up, there will be a lot of capacity constraints. So, what we did this time, that it is a year of a consolidation and we built a capacity. So, at an appropriate time, we are trying to really fit the market. So, that has been our strategy now. When you talk about a CSR, this particular thing has now taken some of the momentums by very large corporate groups, to name them few are L&T, some of them are Infosys, who are trying to really, get into those kind of toilets under their CSR the liabilities that they want to really honor and fulfill. So these also would percolate down, and as it really goes, the momentum would catch up. But maybe, as of now, if you are asking me a question, it has not reached to us.
Okay. And the second question is about how is this real estate slowdown impacting us? And do we have the replacement market to compensate for that? Or
you are very right. It is really impacting. And, Q4 results, if I really see, I already made a statement. January, February were probably the worst of those 2 months in last 20 years that we have seen, in terms of the growth, I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But then, we also realigned our efforts, we realigned our endeavors and the strategy that we are doing. The March probably has given us a business. April also is giving us a business. But there is what we also feel that, okay, yes, the impact of the real estate going down is impacting. You'll have to really, cut down on a cost in terms of, you have a natural advantage where our energy cost is going down. We are also trying to premiumize the product where our per piece labor cost also is going down, which is a major contributor to a cost. So we're taking all the efforts and all the steps which are necessary in these directions, where we are able to control our costs and still trying to grow on that part.
In view of that, how badly is that our opportunity side getting impacted, and any exports which we might be looking for to compensate?
Export business is two-way. One is a very low category business which goes into the African countries where we are not into that. The entire Morbi or some of the unorganized players majority of them are into the exports. There is another high-end exports which is going into the Gulf countries. But what happens here that the volume of the product, the freight cost is pretty high, not the cost of the product. Therefore, we are trying to work a different ways how we could penetrate these markets. But yes, we had a modest business through some of those channel partners in Canada and in US also. We would further intensify that also in the coming years. But export is something which is comparatively on a low priority because we have good business and good price that we generally get from the domestic market rather than the exports.
What about the replacement market?
It's a tremendous market, honestly. In fact, that market is almost untapped. But there are a lot of hassles in terms of that, you want to really redo a bathroom, is not only the sanitary ware or a faucet ware that really is an issue. The issue is about getting a good masoner, getting a good electrician, getting a good plumber, the skilled labor, the contractor who will execute the job in time for you while you are staying in the house. And the kind of inconvenience that you would experience is really holding back.
The company like one more company, Gujarat-based company, Astral Poly, they have done a smart strategy of tying up with the plumbers. And basically, the training program being organized for them, the benefits of using...
We have been doing this for the last 7 years. This is nothing new to us. We have already...
We have also been doing the same thing with the tying up with...
We already have about 120 technicians, plumbers on our roll, and there are another 250 who are attached to us all across. An ongoing training program is already given to them.
So this community numbers is very large in India.
Sorry?
The plumbers as such are very, very large, and they are the very deciding factor for branding and everything. So the moment whatever the plumber says to the house owner makes an impact.
I would beg to differ on that. They don't really promote a brand. If you are redoing a bathroom in your house, then yes, what you say is very right. Then he decides.
Correct.
But then the replacement market, when you really talk about, though potentially a very, very high market, but because of a lot of issues which I just now narrated a few minutes before, that market still remains untapped. We tried by retaining at, several places across the state, various states, giving a franchise who can really take over that kind of a business, and we support them. But eventually they also depend on a local people who is a skilled labor, who will commit to, yes, tomorrow is coming to your place, and he doesn't come. And eventually if it is going and associated with a brand Cera, the brand Cera is getting affected. Aapne aadmi nahi bheja. So this we tried. We are trying, and not only that we have given up, we are also trying various other ways how we can really tap this market. The market is tremendous, potentially tremendous. Because, today, if you really see the kind of a product range, if you really go to any of our studios, I'm pretty sure you will be inclined to, upgrade your bathroom. You would feel that, okay, your bathroom is too old, even if it is 5 years, before that you have done it, but the kind of a gadget, the kind of the faucet, the kind of the WC that you would see, the design that you would see, the way this is being really done, you'll be inclined to really do it. But then what is holding back is only this part.
Correct. And because why I'm saying is that, see, for example, in my home also, I had put up this GI pipes around 15 years back by the government authorities. And all these GI pipes are having a life of 10, 12, 15 years only. I have to redo a complete thing now. And again, so we have to have a pipe of at least 50, 60 years. So wherein this Astral Ashirvad comes in. And then, so for them, the slowdown is impacting them also. But I believe because of this replacement market, they are doing good. So in this time,
the plumber is the most important to them, this very right. And they would only take over your piping responsibilities in a bathroom. But bathroom is never made of only a pipe. If you really see the composition of a cost of a bathroom, I would say, 15% goes towards, 12% goes for the sanitary ware. Almost about 40% goes toward the faucet ware. And the remaining, if you really talk, which is visible, I'm saying, what is, considered like pipe, I'm not considering, but then the balance is tiles. And you do not get the people who are, whom you could trust. Now, if you're working somewhere and you're staying at the same house, and if your wife also is working to give a key to somebody else, and then, you would carry on the job according to your satisfaction. Or if you retain an architect or a supervisor, sometimes the cost becomes very prohibitive. So these are some of the issues which are, I can take, my own example. I'm staying where I wanted to renovate 2 bathrooms. Initially, I thought I'll renovate 1. And then after that is done, I'll do a second. But my wife was more enthused. She said, no, let us open up both those things. And, I had all the facilities from a Cera. And despite these, they committed 21 days. Can you imagine? It took 60 days. And one fine morning, my wife says, okay, look, forget about this. We don't want to renovate this. These are hard realities, I'm saying. It's not the product or a brand which is here. It is something, which is a lot of hassle. But yes, I appreciate this is, our entire marketing team is working very hard on this, how to really, take these two as an advantage. We know that that's a tremendous market on this.
Yeah. People generally shift to a temporary accommodation and all those renovation happen only then. On that, was very difficult.
Not everybody can afford that kind of thing. Convenience and the cost point of
your take on opportunity size for our company and what is the for the next few years, please?
This is one which we, the entire Europe also have a lot of renovations, but there, there are organized agencies, people are ready to pay a price. Here in India, we still feel scout somebody is slightly, we are also unorganized in terms of the buying pattern. Anyway, what is your next question?
And any outsourcing we are focusing on to reduce our cost and increasing our ROC? So, or they are, are we going to for complete...
This is a very valid question you raised. We have a capacity which is completely, one is an in-house manufacturing, second is an outsource. And how we use our capacity is where we have the maximum marginal contribution, we book our capacity first. Mm-hmm. And then when we have some of the low-end product where the margins are comparatively low, we try to outsource them. Now, this has been done very systematically. On a tiles, we still are completely outsourcing.
Okay.
Faucet, some of the internal parts we do outsource.
Okay. Yeah, basically focusing more on branding and distribution will really help us.
The strength of Cera is basically brand and a distribution network, and therefore our focus is definitely there. But I can't be a trader all along. I need a manufacturing of my own so that I know the crux of the product.
Correct. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for taking my query. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mishal Mehta from Plyris Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, Bharat bhai. Thank you for taking the call. Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Bharat bhai, a couple of questions. One, what would be the debt right now, total debt?
We have a very small debt of about 12-15 crores, but then we are a debt-free company. We have more lying in a deposit or parked somewhere which are liquid funds. So it's almost double than that amount. And the entire amount, which we raised through the preferential allotment, is still we need to spend a sizable amount of this. Only thing we have used partially towards the building capacities, completing some of those things which were left. We were trying to use it to complete our sanitary ware, increase in the capacity in the faucet ware. But our internal accrual also has come to a rescue, and therefore it's very difficult to say whether I use that fund or I had used my internal accrual. But then I'm debt-free and I still have a lot of money lying in the liquid funds, which we'll be using in the current year now.
So, Bharat, we've always kept some short-term borrowing. What's the thinking behind that? Or why do we keep, sizable cash balance and some short-term borrowing?
You see, basically our own internal accrual generation has been sizable, where, we try to fund our expansion that, only through an accrual. So we plan our things, we have a rolling plan, as I already said earlier, that about 180 crores, which is based, in figuring in terms of that, okay, year after the year, even if it's the same kind of a level, I'll be generating 60 crores plus as an internal accrual, which will go into the funding of the CapEx plan that we have. So generally, we do not need a borrowing.
Okay,
it's only a temporary, I can't really arithmetically divide 180 crores, 60. To give you an example, in the current year, in FY15, we have spent on a CapEx about 82 crores, which slightly exceeded my, the internal accrual, and therefore I have borrowed money.
Okay.
But now, maybe, next year if I'm not spending that kind of a thing, what would happen to my internal accrual? I'll go and repay to them, because, there is no point in taking over borrowed money where I have to pay an interest and I still have my money lying somewhere. So we try to manage in such a way where our expansion is not affected, our business growth also is not affected, and we still continue to remain debt-free. Temporarily, yes, we do borrow.
Okay. Fair enough, the second thing would be, in the last call, you had mentioned that for tile manufacturing, you might be looking to buy some facilities, acquire something.
We are still on that. We are evaluating a couple of people. In fact, 3 people we are evaluating.
Okay, so something on that lines could be...
It's already on the card. The question is, Morbi is not that easy to really crack on that kind of a thing, because, a lot of people who have always been used to an unorganized way of working, their balance sheets are very weak, their valuations, expectations are very high. And when you need to grow with them, there are certain kind of a corporate philosophy that we need to share with them, and they need to join hands only on those kind of a things. So There are at least, a dozen people standing in the line, they would like to join hands with Cera, but then we need to find somebody whom we can trust and whom we can rely on in terms of our own growth plans. So we are evaluating that part. That process is on for the last 2 months.
So this will not be a total buyout or something. This will be where you
will be going for a JV, because it's not something where the question we need somebody who is a production manager kind of a person. So he would be managing the productions according to our guidelines and will have a majority of the stake.
Okay.
And we will be focusing more not on manufacturing, because the technology is the same and there's no rocket science into that kind of a thing. Our focus is on distribution and the branding of the product.
Okay, but now you are feeling with the way the tiles business is going, you are feeling the need to have something like this as soon as possible?
We have already been into this kind of a thing for the last 2 years. It's not now. We made a very modest beginning in FY13.
Okay.
So these almost 2 years experiments, and we had an outsourcing arrangement. Now we thought that, okay, we need to have a more exposure into this, and we need to take a controlling interest or acquire a business.
Okay. So so right now, there is no controlling interest in anybody in any way?
No, we do not. We are outsourcing from 4 different parties, and we have identified that, okay, one of them could probably meet with our expectations. We are trying to further evaluate, and maybe the 3 more are also in the queue. We have an option. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and last question, Bhargav. In tiles and faucet, you mentioned that, we'll have to do some kind of premiumization because competing with Jaguar and faucet and tiles in the soluble salt is difficult to make it profitable. And in sanitary ware, we are not at the high end of the category. So, strategically, how do you expect this to work out, where you're trying to premiumize 2 products and where the sanitary ware, which is the main business,
every product has a different kind of a buyer seller arrangement. He's somebody who is going into a premium kind of a tiles, and if you are offering a sanitary ware which is equally good in terms of the quality. You see, if I really say this premiumization is, how do you really decide a premiumization of a product is something which is very subjective rather than objective. If I put an objective question to this kind of a thing, generally decisions are taken based on a design. We had conducted an in-house survey where, the 6-7 different kind of the branded, taken away the logo we had taken off, and we had called the builder, we had called the dealer distributors, we had called high net investor, we had called interior designer, we had called housewife, and then he said, okay, select one. Okay. Which is your preference? And, the first thing that, it came and surfaced was everybody was selecting fashion and design. The second question was asked that what is the price of this? The third question came, which is the brand.
Okay.
And the fourth question that, okay, how reliable the brand? Fifth question says who is dealing and what is the service guarantee? What is it if something goes wrong? The dealer distributor, they knew it, but then when you talk about a housewife, they want to raise these questions as well. So always it's a design which appeals to you, and we probably are one of the best designs that we are able to offer. If you go and compare, our designs are comparable to global designs. Second, in terms of the price, we have a lot of advantage on our cost. Despite we pass on those benefits, we still have a better fundamentals, number one. And if you really see the technology that we are using, is a global technology. We are using European technologies, German technologies in terms of which is the art of the machine, which is the kill. And some of the competitors who have not really gone for an expansion for last 2 or 3 or 5 years and continue with the same capacity, we have a better technology as of now because we expanded. And we have a latest thing to really install that part.
This you're talking about is sanitary ware technology?
Yes, sanitary ware I'm saying. And therefore, despite I probably, when you say I'm not premiumizing, no, I am premiumizing, but the premiumizing is there, some of the products where there's a mindset. हमारे Indians में क्या होता है कि महंगा होगा तो अच्छा होगा. So Kohler offering the same kind of a thing, charging 3 times the price, you are a Kohler customer, you are a Kohler customer. If I try to convince, I'm wasting my time on you.
Right. So,
but somebody who probably is able to listen to us, look, yes, I am offering the same kind of a quality as 60% of what Kohler is saying. That the response is very good on that kind of a thing. So, we had only 5% presence in the premium. Now we have a 15% presence in a premium.
Okay.
We also have a brand ambassador called Sonam Kapoor now, which she has already been on to that part, and that gimmick also has worked. So, gradually the share of a premium also is going. But let me tell you, my bread and butter still comes from the mass and the upper and upper lower market. Okay. So, firmly fitted, our feet on the ground, we still are, trying to jump where we can reach out. That is a sanitary ware. On a faucet ware, I can't compete Jacquard on a price, and therefore you need different strategy. You need to come out with more aesthetically good designs, more maneuverability of a product, which is a sound product, and you are ready to pay even 5-7% higher than what you would have paid for a Jacquard kind of a thing. And we are getting a good response. So that also is picking up. Tiles, yes, only soluble salt is a mass market, it's a commodity.
Okay. So,
but if you are able to offer a good design in a GVT, you are able to offer a better design in a double charge nano kind of a technology using, there are people who are ready to pay for.
Okay, so my basic
the brand which is Cera, which is really catching a moment of the visibility of a brand for last 5 years, if you see it, probably you yourself would agree where we were 5 years back.
Right.
And I met you 5 years back, you know where we were and now where we are.
Absolutely. I keep visiting the showrooms in Pune. So,
not only I would suggest you go to somewhere in Bombay also, which is in Andheri.
Okay.
And if you are downside somewhere on any of the, Delhi we have a showroom, we have a Chennai, we have a Bangalore, we have in Cochin, we have in Ahmedabad, 10,000 square feet of an area. And I'm pretty sure if you go, even I myself, whenever I go, I end up spending money there. And my wife always curses me, "Ye 5,000 rupees kharch kya hai tum for no."
Okay.
So this is something when you go see something new, you always feel, yes, it's worth going and getting your bathroom renovation.
So this premiumization in faucetware and tiles and
also in sanitary ware, isn't it?
So it's not, you're not facing any problems selling everything under the same roof and same...
We are not. Look, market dynamics to the market is subdued, yes. But despite these, our numbers are not bad. We have grown by about 24%. If you really take my bottom line has grown by 30.36%.
Right. Great.
So purely talking about the numbers also, we are not bad.
So numbers, no problem. I just wanted to understand what's happening in...
And way forward, market dynamics should always come into the frame, but that yes, we have a strategy where, as I said, April is really good. March also was good. Only thing, January, February have let us down in terms of my quarterly results.
Correct. Okay.
But way forward, we feel very confident to maintain a growth, at least about 25%.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Ankit Jain from Aquarium. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the follow-up. So just wanted to know our A&P spend for fiscal year 15.
What spend?
Advertisement and promotion spend.
About 4%, 4.5%.
Okay, so we have maintained,
we would maintain only that kind of a thing. When we budget our next year, we know what target we want to reach. And we try to only generally say, yes, about 4%, 4.25%. That's the way we'll try to limit ourselves.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from MK Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to check, the B2B and the B2C part of the growth that you saw in the quarter 4.
Which growth you said? Can you repeat your question, please?
I said the institutional business, what growth you saw, and the non-institutional, which is a dealer-driven business, what growth you saw.
I would clarify on one particular thing, whatever that business, anywhere it goes for the new construction. We made a very internal studies about this. And when the studies came out, they said 82% is always for the new constructions, whether it is dealer or distributors, who types of a business is one, is a channel. 18% goes for a renovation or a making up of a new bathroom. But here also there was a flaw. A lot of people came out with a study and they said, okay, look, you bought a new apartment, but you did not like the bathroom the way the builder had given you. And therefore you want to really change the entire bathroom now. Now, I do not want to really name it whether it was a renovation or it was a new construction. Pure renovation is one where you are staying in the house and you are renovating in a pure way, which is hardly, as of now, not more than about 3% or 4%. So everything goes for a new constructions, and therefore, it is the institution or it are the builder or a new construction where every material is going. It's a question whether, there is something where the dealer, they try to push it, or the distributors who try to push it, or the builder, they directly get into it. Okay. So it was pretty subdued. In January and February, the entire business was subdued.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a last question, which is from the line of Arividya V from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. This is Girish from Spark Capital. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Girish.
Yeah, sir. Earlier you were mentioning that you had a severe slowdown in the months of Jan and Feb. So basically, I have a couple of questions on that. So one is if you can clarify or if you can throw more light on which regions did we see a slowdown coming, and second, and also you mentioned that March and April has picked up because your sales strategy has changed. So what exactly?
Basically, northern India was something which was very subdued during this thing. Even western India was also very subdued.
Okay. So basically, then you mentioned that March and April have done well. So what exactly or specifically the sales team?
I would tell you that what did we do, earlier where generally what happens that, there are calls from the builder or the known people, dealer, distributors, and then, we go and meet.
Okay.
The question here is that, in January, February, hearing those kind of an explain the market is doing that, we started taking a proactive actions. Look, let's really identify how many projects are on the floor.
Okay.
How many projects those builders are coming out with the new projects or trying at least, let's contact them our phone. So there are a lot of proactive actions initiated by us.
Okay. So what?
Then we also changed some of those, we strengthened the marketing team.
Okay.
We had a product specialist at every kind of region that we have, 4 different categories of a division.
Okay.
So if there are any kind of an issue related to a product, earlier, what used to happen, that only one person used to answer all the 4 products.
Okay.
Then the focus was divided.
Okay.
So we started identifying that, we need a product specialist for every kind of a product to be stationed at every region.
Okay.
So, there are more calls responded from the company in terms of delivery of the material, in terms of product complaints, in terms of rectifications, in terms of any kind of insurance, in terms of the billing.
Okay.
Now, these proactive actions have really gone a long way, and it's trying to generate more.
So basically what I want to know is, let's say if the demand slowdown continues over the next 6 to 9 months, so whatever the change in strategy which we have adopted gives us confidence to maintain a 23 to 25%.
Well, this is exactly what we are eyeing, and the April also is going the same way. So I could always say that part.
Okay. Great, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I would now like to hand the floor over to Mr. Kamlesh Kotak for closing comments.
Thank you, Margaret. On behalf of Asian Markets, I thank everyone for joining for this call. Special thanks to Bharat Bhai for providing a very detailed discussion about the company's business and the outlook going forward. With that, we conclude the call. Any concluding comment, Bharat Bhai?
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kamlesh Bhai in particular, and everyone who has joined this call and spent their time on this. I'm pretty sure I have been able to answer most of their questions. If there be any other follow-up questions, they can always get in touch with me directly also, and I'll try to satisfy each one of them. Thank you very much.
Great, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.